some Garrick's Intangible Virtue. This looks almost like just a junk tokens list. I'm looking spells. Do you see Unburial Rites here anywhere?
No, it's just it's green. It's green.
So
it's junk colors, but it's not Unburial.
Yeah,
Rites.
but it's actually token stack. Borderland Ranger. I mean, a creature slash token, like a mid range, I guess. There's Thragtusk, Geist Honored Monks, Restoration Angels.
So it's almost a little low on the number of tokens you'd want to have.
This is interesting. It's sort of like.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
I was just going to say it's kind of like a Crater Hoof Reanimator deck minus all that stuff.
Yeah. So we see Michael Mindt on Experiment Jund. For those of you unfamiliar, this is the Jund aggro deck. It's based around Experiment 1, Strangleroot Geist, Flinthoof Boar, Drag Mangler.
So everything hasty for the most part, lots of aggression.
Right. It's like this is little Jund aggro, whereas Cedric is playing big Jund aggro.
I see.
You could look at it that way.
Okay. And it looks like, wow, Michael's playing it very, very aggressively here. He's got a turn 1 Experiment 1. It attacked, and he just went ahead and blood rushed the Gore Clan Rampager on it to get in there for 5.
So when I see my opponent make a play like that, my first assumption is, oh, my opponent is bad. Now, when I see this happen in a 7-1 bracket of a tournament, my reaction is, oh
dead.
God. Like, it's kind of like when you're at 15 and someone's like lightning bolt targeting you.
Exactly.
You're just like, oh no.
That's bad news. Eric Thompson's just got 2 lands on the battlefield, nothing else to show for it. You get a look at Michael Mindt there as he bashes in there again with his 1/1 Experiment 1. And it looks like we're going to have a Celestia Charm in response, going to make a 2/2 Knight, presumably to block here.
Surprise blocker, yeah, probably not going to work. I'm assuming Michael has some sort of play. The other read you can get, so that turn 1 Blood Rush is really a bold play. One thing that you can actually read from that play also is that, wow.
This is, man, Michael does not mess around. He just 2-for-1 himself to get rid of that 2/2 Knight.
Yeah. What I was going to say is I believe, if Michael had a hand just full of Gore Clan Rampagers, that play makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
He's just burning through his cards at breakneck speed right now.
Yeah, he's going to be hellbent in a few minutes here, and that's probably not a great thing, as Eric's deck very likely can put up a lot of creatures to block and then eventually turn the tide into attackers.
Right. I mean, Eric's still at a very healthy 15 life points.
Yeah.
So
now
Michael
he flashes in a Midnight Haunting on end step here, as it looks like Michael just has nothing this turn.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have preferred that turn to have shocked myself for 2 and played a 4/4 trample if that play was, going back to that. Yeah.
And there's an Intangible Virtue, and that's going to be 4 damage coming in there for Eric Thompson as Michael drops down to 16. Plus, now Eric's got these blockers that are just going to sit there forever. Woodland Cemetery is going to finish up the turn for Eric.
Well, the token strategy is very good at attrition fights, and I think
yes,
and that's exactly what we're going to see right here.
Yeah, the turn 5 Experiment 1, not exactly what Michael had in mind when he started this game.
No, and it's, Michael can't, when he was especially when Michael 2-for-1 himself, to trade that Experiment 1 and Tragic Slip for a Knight token, that's the exact opposite of what needs to be happening here. He can't even really afford to 1-for-1 himself, much less 2-for-1 himself.
That's right. Now he's got a Strangleroot Geist that is stuck in his hand because he doesn't have a second green source. But even then, at this point in the game, it's not that impressive, as we see a Thragtusk now for Eric, going to put him back up to 20 life, and he's firmly in the driver's seat at this point.
Interestingly enough, Eric opted to cast Thragtusk there instead of the Garruk Primal Hunter in his hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had both of them. I think he might be worried. Maybe he's trying to bait a card like Dreadbore or something like that.
Okay.
Typically on such an empty board, slamming a Planeswalker is a really great play.
Do you think he's just going to go for the Planeswalker, or for the Garrick, and then minus for the draw 5 here? Is that his plan?
I don't think he has Geist Hunter Monk, Restoration Angel.
So he just doesn't even need it.
I don't know what he's even drawing into. I think we're at that point in the game where
it just doesn't.
I don't know matters. I think every decision is just amazing.
I mean, he's literally facing down a 1/1 right now.
Right.
Like an actual no abilities 1/1 currently.
So I'm a little shocked. I'm not sure what Michael's game plan was.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Like, the thing is, even when you look at what he was doing, play a 1/1 blood rushing it, like, that doesn't add up to 20.
No.
Even if your opponent does nothing, like, so sometimes you'd say, what's your goldfish turn? And Michael's goldfish turn with that line was like 8.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So sometimes people panic a little. Like, let's say he kept a little bit of a land heavy hand. He drew a couple of lands for his first 2 draws. Do you think he just went into some type of, like, I gotta do something type mode? Because
your cards get, your cards start burning in your hand. You have to throw them on the table.
I mean, because
you could definitely see that.
He exchanged what would have been a relevant 4/4 body for an almost irrelevant 4 damage.
Right. Eric ended the game at 15.
And at 20 actually, thanks to Thragtusk. But yeah.
Right. I think part of that happened. Sometimes you can get into this thing where you really want to set your deck in a certain role. You know, Michael can think here, I am a Jund aggro deck. And you know what an aggro deck doesn't do is play a 1/1 for 1, and then play a second land and say go, and play a third land and say go.
Right.
And as this game was shaping up, that's what he was going to do. So I could see him just being, you know, I can see how a panic would set in there and say, you know, well, I have to be an aggro deck. Well, an aggro deck deals damage. Okay, here's damage.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, especially because, so he's got a good record here today. He's clearly been winning a lot. His deck has been functioning well.
Right.
I know the mana on this deck is a little bit questionable. If he's
can
been,
be, right.
you know, it can be. If he's been running really well all day, he's been beating down hard all day. Right? I mean, his whole entire day has been attack you, attack you, attack you, attack you, and maybe he had a hard time switching gears when he got a draw that wasn't really amenable to that.
I mean, that's definitely true, and I could see that happening. You know, your deck, especially when you're playing an aggro deck, a lot of the aggro decks currently in this format, the Burning Tree Emissary decks, are kind of, I've referred to them as nut draw decks. Which was what I mean is that they have certain opening hands that are pretty much unbeatable by any deck in the format.
Right.
You know, one of my friends came over to me last round and said, you know, I just got turn 3'd by Naya Blitz.
Yes.
Like, okay, yeah, that does
I know that
happen.
gentleman, and he came over to me too. He's very good at spreading the bad beats. And,
but I mean, that's a real story.
Insane, yeah. And he also told me what he kept. He kept 4 lands, Supreme Verdict, Think Twice, and Sphinx's Revelation.
He's like,
which is like a really great hand.
It's a little slow, but you know, you get to draw some cards. Like, it's not unkeepable.
Right, and he was just dead.
Right, so you see these nut draw decks, and the thing about them is that the price you're paying for having such a great nut draw is that when your nut draws don't come together, you're going to have some pretty bad draws.
Okay, now do you think that this experiment Jund list falls into that category?
I think almost all the Burning Tree Emissary decks do. This one's actually, this one doesn't play Burning Tree Emissary, so I should back up. He doesn't actually have them in his deck.
Yeah.
It's still almost all creatures. I think it's a little less of a nut draw deck, I suppose, than some of the Burning Tree Emissary decks.
Okay.
But I could see how you could have some subpar draws with it. You know, he's still somewhat of an aggro deck.
It's definitely an aggressive deck.
He's definitely an aggro deck. So, you know, aggro doesn't. One of the skills of good aggro players is what they do with bad hands. You know, how they economize on bad hands.
That's right.
As it is in this matchup, it's possible that if Michael gets those bad hands, because of how tokens works, it's possible that most of those bad hands just don't have the play in them to win.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, once Eric gets down, say, an Intangible Virtue and a Lingering Souls, right? That's a really hard board for Michael to interact with, even with a reasonable hand.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at his deck, and for haste creatures, almost all of his creatures have haste. He's got Hellkites, Strangleroot Geist, Flinthoof Boars usually have haste, Drag Manglers, Falconwrath Aristocrats, Hell Riders, and then the Rampagers, which often don't get cast anyway. Yeah.
Essentially they also
like a
have
one-shot haste. Yeah. I mean, his deck certainly can deliver a very, very quick victory. Now, if we take a look over at Eric's sideboard here a little bit, is there anything that stands out as just like an excellent?
I mean, he has Abrupt Decays. I think he wants to make sure he deals with damage in a fairly relevant way. He has a 4th Thragtusk in the board.
Okay.
I would try to adapt into a little more of a control deck.
Okay.
In the matchup.
But it really, it looks like we're underway here. So a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman for Michael. That's a much better start than before.
Yeah, it's not that card he actually ideally wants in the matchup because he's not playing against a graveyard deck. Stuff doesn't really die. The nice part is that when
Eric,
Eric,
actual creatures don't die.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing is when Eric makes tokens, he'll be loading instants into the graveyard.
Yes.
So he'll actually should be able to get in damage with this card with the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, he can also get like a Lingering Souls out of it, and so
that would be ideal.
Only half of it. Yeah. And it looks like Eric might have something like that in mind, as he took 2 damage to play an Arbor Elf on turn 1. And that's something that, you know, he's got to be very concerned about taking any amount of damage, as he takes another one from the Deathrite Shaman after a Flinthoof Boar from Michael. So let's see what Eric has for his turn here.
Yeah, it's interesting as compared to like the red-green aggro decks, which are very much a count to 20 deck. You know, they're just throwing damage as fast as possible. The Jund aggro decks have a little more late game.
Yeah, like the Deathrite Shaman.
The creatures have real bodies.
Yes.
You know, like
And they're not just 2/2s.
Yeah, they're not just like spamming 2/2s on the board. And
Yeah.
Right. So that they can actually fight and maybe win.
Now, we see that Eric's just played a tapped land and then an Avacyn's Pilgrim. He's setting up for a turn 3 Thragtusk here.
It sure looks like it.
I saw one in his hand.
Okay, so we know it's there. Thragtusk, Geist Honored Monk, Garruk Primal Hunter. I don't think Primal Hunter is still in his deck. I would be surprised if it was right now. But yeah, he has a fair amount of Haymaker that he can play.
Wow, Michael's going to attack with both creatures. He's going to offer a trade here, but really there's a Gorklan Rampager that's a big issue. That Rampager, yep,
Yeah.
it's going to get blood rushed.
So that's 8 damage. Ow.
That's a fairly significant hit, and he's got another Deathrite Shaman to follow up. Thumbs up from Eric, and it looks like he's going to go for a Thragtusk here.
I find interesting here, he opted to make that
If he
play.
has a land.
Michael, I'm going to say as another confusing play, Michael had a Strangleroot Geist in hand that turn and opted to Blood Rush the Rampager instead of casting Strangleroot Geist. Which,
Wow, that's interesting.
That's so aggressive. I don't know. It's, you know,
Do you think he did that because he thought the coast was clear in the sense that Eric couldn't actually cast any spells?
Right. I mean, maybe. Yeah, it's you know, he was sure that it would get in for all its damage. And
so he's just like, I'm going to take that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that might be worrying more than he needs to. That damage is pretty safe.
It is, because really Eric is forced to react here, right? It's not like he can just leave mana up and be like, yeah,
he's
go.
leaving mana up. That's
and
great.
This is what he's done here. He missed his land drop. He plays Sorin. He's going to make a 1/1 vampire.
Right,
and
so
here's the Strangleroot Geist that we just mentioned.
Yeah, turn late on it. It should still be strong enough here. And if you're Michael Mindt, I think it's the entire team swinging here. The question is where they're swinging.
What would you do?
Well, he has all his guys added together are 7 damage. So if Eric takes it all, he goes to 2. If he blocks the largest creature, he can go to 5. I don't think I want to take my whole turn. If he swings everything at Sorin, Sorin dies. Which actually, it's all going at Eric. Was the attack made?
Okay.
It depends on Michael's hand. I'm tempted to throw it all at Sorin.
Okay.
And just get the Planeswalker off the board. Eric has to prove to me that he can do something relevant right now.
Now, you got to think that Michael's aware of the fact that Eric's missed his second land drop and is probably threatening the Thragtusk here.
I mean, I would assume he's going to... Yeah. I mean, you want to assume he's going to play Thragtusk because if Eric doesn't have Thragtusk, well, then you're just going to win.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
Okay.
Prepare for the worst case scenario because any other scenario is just gravy.
Right. All right. So it looks like the lifelink vampire is going to jump in front of the Flinthoof boar here just to prevent the most possible damage.
And I think this is why the attack needed to go at Sorin is because Eric's only actually taking 3 damage here. Well, he gains 1 off the lifelink and he's only taking 2. He's going to 7. And I think if everything turns at Sorin, Eric goes to 10, but he loses his Planeswalker, so Michael's actually progressed the board.
Yeah?
He's only put him to 7.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And Eric is going to draw a land eventually.
Now, do you know why that Deathrite Shaman isn't coming in? Is he anticipating Eric casting an instant or sorcery?
It sure looks like it. The problem is that Eric can, like if it's most of his instants, say Midnight Haunting, which he does have, he can cast on Michael's turn, therefore, which stops the Deathrite from doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, so he can like gain 2 life by exiling his Gorkhan Rampager, but that's just like irrelevant here. So.
Not irrelevant, but not very relevant.
Okay, yeah, going from 18 to 20 on this board's probably not.
Yeah, it's not much.
Now it looks like he has missed another land drop. He's got a Garruk Relentless in hand, I'm assuming is what that double face card is?
Yeah, I don't know if he has another flip card.
Yeah, I mean, he's not running red, so he can't have Huntmaster.
Yeah, it's going to be Garruk Relentless.
Okay.
A pretty strong play here, actually. You could just eat a Deathrite Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that sounds odd.
And I mean, he has 2 Planeswalkers on the table, too?
I like the play more because I'm not convinced that Michael's going to attack the Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that, these all might get to live makes me want to cast it more.
Yeah. And really, making Death Touch Wolves against Michael's deck seems pretty good, too, right? Starting to block those on Flinthoof boars. If he doesn't have a Gorklan Rampager, he gets really good.
As opposed to fighting Deathrite Shaman, it may just be better for him to make 2/2 wolves. Right now.
Okay, yeah.
I hadn't looked at that right away, but
that would leave him with a vampire and a wolf if he did that play, because he's going to have to tap both of his elves.
He gets like 2 fountains of blockers. That's pretty good.
Right, what is he up to here?
I hope he isn't playing Midnight Haunting main phase. That's bad.
He's going to finally shore up this mana situation by playing a Borderland Ranger.
The window's open to do this. That seems. Yeah.
And it also helps him stay alive because it's a 2/2 body.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably worried about playing that before when he played Soren last turn because he felt like, I might die if I don't make this play.
Yeah.
But since Michael's attack last turn didn't have much oomph to it, he might be able to look at that and say, well, I don't really, may not be as worried.
And now he's set up for the Thragtusk next turn. Now he's at 7. He's at a precarious life total, but this way he leaves another blocker up as well.
Yeah. And we have an end step Skullcrack.
Ooh, he decided just to burn that right now. Does he have lethal or something?
Yeah, I mean, because he should have burned that last turn when the vampire blocked, because that would have stopped the lifelink. So that could have put Eric to 3 instead of 4. It's an instant, but you don't have to play instants.
There's a Drag Mangler that's going to join the board as well. Although it looks like he had to use his black mana. Yeah, his lone black mana to cast it, so he doesn't have the Deathrite activation on his Skullcrack now. But he's just going to ship the team in here. I'm assuming they're all coming at Eric.
So with 3 attackers, let's see, 3 attackers, 5 attackers, 3 blockers. The smallest 2 will get through, which is 2 Deathrites, putting Eric to 2.
I see.
No, he's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's going to be at 3.
And if he draws a land that doesn't kill him, basically, if he can play Thragtusk, right?
He can just play Thragtusk. He borderlanded for the land. He already has it.
Right, but he's got to keep both of his elves alive.
Right.
So he still is going to need to draw another land to make that work, I think.
So, yeah, he's going to have to block with the elf, unfortunately. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He does have to make that block. And he probably,
Is there any way he can block to get rid of a Deathrite Shaman here? Nope, doesn't look like he's doing it.
He can't, because if he blocks with the Deathrite Shaman, he lets a 3 through.
Okay.
He could do it. He could let the Strangleroot Geist through.
Okay.
And then, put the 2/2 put the borderline range on a Deathrite Shaman.
But then he would go to 1.
I actually think that's a better play.
Do you?
Yeah, because that damage he's saving right now by making that block this turn, he's losing that damage again next turn by allowing the creature to be alive. So I'm not actually sure this, over the course of just these 2 turns, I'm not sure this block actually saves damage.
I mean, he still has to draw a land here to be able to even play Thragtusk, and he's still facing down 2 3/3s and 2 Deathrite.
I think he's dead to it. So if he plays a land, he goes to 8. I'm not convinced he's not dead.
I think you might be right. He has not drawn a land either, and I think he's trying to come up with some way to possibly stay alive, but those Deathrite Shamans are going to kill him. I believe Michael still only has 1 black source, but he's got enough creatures to attack and then activate.
Yeah, the Deathrite activations aren't going to be, shouldn't be necessary here to finish the last 3 damage.
That's right. Although there is a lifelinker now, so he can go back up to 4.
Yep. Of note, Soren has made its way all the way to 6 if Eric does find a way to live this turn.
All right, so it's another Drag Mangler for Michael. Another 3/3 haster on the board. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14.
Hold on. Eric has a Midnight Haunting.
Oh, he's got a Midnight Haunting.
Okay, Eric can go to 1 here, and then ultimate the Soren.
No way!
like there's a chance here, which is excellent.
Oh no, this is crazy.
So now Michael's realizing this. He's sending some of them at Soren. Okay.
Oh, he sent some of them at Soren?
Yeah,
Wow.
1 Deathrite's going at Soren, everything else is going at Eric. Alright, so Midnight Haunting.
Now, does Eric have to block all the creatures coming at him, or can he block, keep Soren alive and keep himself alive?
No, because we have 4 3s, so all 4 of the 3s have to be blocked.
Okay.
Because all 4 of the 3s are coming at him. If anyone... Well, no, wait. He can let one of them through because this guy has lifelink.
Yes. He'll be at 1, and he could keep Soren, right?
No, he can't. No, because he has 13 damage coming his way. So no, he's going to have to save this.
He still has to block?
He still has to do it that way.
Sad.
I know. I really want to see him ultimate the Soren.
Yeah, this is actually
and then just stabilize the game.
This is kind of a sweet attack because it's going to put Eric to 2 if he blocks away, right?
Right, well, there's 13 coming at him.
And I think both Deathrite Shamans are going to get through, and he's going to gain 1 life, so he's going to go to 4 and then back down to 2. Oh, no, one of them's going to at Soren, actually.
Yeah, so, and he'll actually still
Soren
stay at 3.
has
to go to 5.
Yeah.
Which, so I don't know if Eric actually if Eric can actually win this. He certainly has been given a couple extra lives here.
Now, if he untaps and plays a Thragtusk, does that change a lot?
No, there's so many attackers here. There's no way that's
because nothing's leaving the board here, right?
Right. These are all chump blocks.
All right. Looks like he's really tanking it out on this.
Actually, sorry,
block
he
here.
doesn't have the Thrag Tusk out because he's losing his mana.
Oh yeah, and he's going to lose his mana guy anyway.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't think
You're
he
totally
can.
right.
All right. So he does stay alive, which I'm impressed.
Which
with.
is really impressive, but his resources are dwindling.
All right. So yeah, blocks made. Eric takes one. Soren takes one. Yes, Eric stays at 3.
He stays at 3
with his
because of
draw
the
turn.
lifelink.
I don't.
Yeah, and he's drawn a shock land for the turn, which he's not going to be able to play untapped without just letting Michael untap and just kill him.
Right.
Also, if Michael draws his second black source, he can just kill him. He has a Midnight Haunting and a Skullcrack he can remove with his Deathrite Shaman.
I mean, I think there's a million ways that Michael.
Yeah.
I can't see Michael not killing him one of the ways.
That's right. Nope, he's going to scoop him up. So it looks like we have an equalizer here. Michael Mindt takes down game 2 versus Eric Thompson, and we're going to get a game 3.
Yeah, so I wanted to pause a little bit. Checking on our news feed. So that we had a World Magic qualifier today in DC, and we have a winner for it. Actually.
Who won that?
Joe Spanier. Actually.
Oh, he did.
So if those of you who play Magic Online, probably know him as Found Omega on Magic Online. So he joins. He joins Jason Gulovich then as the second person of the U.S. national.
Oh, congrats to him. That's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah, I talked to him quite a bit.
Yeah. So
on Twitter.
Yeah, it was a fairly. It was a, I know that Reed Duke was in the top 8.
Oh, he was?
Yes, Reed made the top 8. There were. I don't have the entire top 8, so apologies to someone if you're listening to this and I didn't say your name. I'm still trying to figure, via social media to figure out what it was, but I do know that Joe was the winner of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, a dedicated Magic Online grinder.
Yeah, so we see, Ben Friedman was also.
Wow.
Also, 7th. Yeah, Ben and Reed were both in the top 8 there, and Tommy Ashton as well.
Okay.
And other people, I'm sure, are going to start tweeting stuff
4
at
others.
me. So
it didn't look like players made too many changes there on the boards after this game.
Right.
You see a judge enjoying a tasty beverage there. Look at that guy. He's super loving that pop. He's so happy.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any play draw. There don't seem like too many play draw changes in the matchup.
Yeah, probably not.
Typically, I think a card that you might care about would be like, cards like Thalia in the format are cards that I care about play draws on. Obviously, Thalia would be good against the tokens deck. Obviously, Jun can't play it. There aren't too many play draw differences I make in the format as far as sideboarding goes.
Now, I see in Eric's deck he's got a Liliana of the Veil. He's got 2 of them in his sideboard. Is that the kind of thing you want against a deck like Michael's?
Okay, so would you want... a Liliana of the Veil is not bad. It actually does kill some of his... Well...
I mean, it kind of resets a Strangaroo.
Yes, the problem is one Strangaroo Geist and Liliana's terrible. So, do you need it as a kill spell? I don't think so. I think I'd rather let my creatures serve as kill spells in this matchup.
Okay.
A double block with 2 creatures should also be a kill spell.
Yeah. And he's got way more creatures en masse than Michael does, right? Like he's going to be able to make a lot of them. I think the key is if we're going to see an intangible virtue.
Sticking 1 Anthem is insane.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so a tap land for Eric and a
freshly drawn,
an Avacyn's Pilgrim, and then he clearly top decked the Plains as he just plays it.
And Strangaroo Geist from Michael Mindt.
There it is.
No block. So.
All right, looks like Eric's going to take it. And let's see what he has to follow up. I see he's got a pretty nice little hand there with a bunch of token makers. Like you mentioned a second ago, Matthias.
3 Midnight, is that 2 Midnight Huntings
and
a
Celestia Charm, I believe.
Yeah, a Resto, a Garruk.
And that's a Garruk, yeah. So he's in a pretty good position here if he can just start resolving these over and over. It looks like he's going to take a damage, so is he going to play Garruk here?
Yeah.
He's going to play Restoration.
Okay. No, that's my favorite play in the standard format right now, just because of how inaccurate it is of 4th land taking 2 go.
It's funny. It's funny how that play has kind of trickled down. Early when Restoration Angel first came out, you could get away with it and people would run stuff in. Now nobody does.
Well, I keep having...
Wow.
Or you do get away with it.
Hey, but with the way that Michael's been playing this, I'm not surprised. He's crazy. He just throws his guys in there.
Yeah, I mean, I still have this, thing where I'm like, okay, I've seen this happen enough where I'm like, I want to once shock myself when I don't have the Resto Angel to get him to
Just
not
to get
attack.
him.
And like, oh, and then he'll just be like, Drag Mangler, no attack, go.
Yeah.
Like, now Michael just, he charges straight into it.
I was playing blue, white, red earlier today, and you can get away with some of that because sometimes you're just going to cycle or do something else, with the mana. All right, so 4 mana here for Eric. He still has his Restoration Angel sitting there, and there's Garrick.
So Eric really is the control deck here in the sense of...
Absolutely.
I mean, he doesn't, no attack. I don't think he should be attacking with Restoration Angel here. He's just, I think...
Do you make a wolf here, or do you...
Make a wolf.
Yeah, just make a wolf, right?
And then next turn make another wolf, and the next turn make another wolf.
Okay.
And then maybe start to hit him with a Resto Angel, because Michael doesn't have very good... So say I just, make creatures every turn. Michael's deck is really ill-equipped to deal with that. He doesn't have...
Those rampages are the main way that he can actually punch through.
And that's a one-time punch,
yeah, it's not even repeatable.
Right, and with Eric at 14, he can take one punch from
Does Eric have access to, Bonfire of the Damned or something?
You mean, does Michael have access to Bonfire?
Excuse me, Michael.
It doesn't appear so. No, I don't think...
Okay.
He has his best sweeper, and I'm putting sweeper very... He has 2 Rolling Temblor in his sideboard. He has 1 Electrickery. He has 2 Golgari Charm.
It looks like he found a Falconwrath Aristocrat here.
Okay, that's big.
And it looked like they were both attacking Eric, though I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, no.
I see some pointing happening.
Okay.
Oh, both at Eric. No, they are confirmed. Shoebox says both at Eric.
I would have tried to kill the Planeswalker.
Oh, no, wait, we might have a revision here. I did see some pointing.
Right. Yes, both at Eric.
All right, confirmo.
So aggressive. So aggressive.
He sure is aggressive. Jeez. And Eric's got to figure he just has to take it this time. He's got a couple of Midnight Hauntings in here.
I'd eat the Strangleroot Geist.
Oh yeah, sure. I meant from the Falconwrath.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he has all these Midnight Hauntings that he's not really actually worried about the Aristocrat.
Yeah, because he can hold it off somewhat indefinitely.
Right, yeah, you can just chump it for a long time and continue to make wolves on the ground and probably just counter race the Aristocrat. By counter race, I mean, is chump it and just swing back.
Yeah, he's really tanking about this block here.
Well, it's confusing. I don't think Michael realizes that Eric can do that counter race play, and because of that, that's why Michael needs to be attacking the Garrick right now. And he blocks both, so I'm confused as to why he would put Resto on the Aristocrat.
He just didn't want to take the 4 damage, apparently. Maybe he figures he can make this game go super long.
He could have had the same play. He could have had the same board state, be at 10 and have a Resto in play. And the thing is, that chump block is because essentially what he did is just straight chump block.
He's straight up chump blocked.
And that play would be available to him again next turn. If the 4 life turns out to be that important, then he could do it next turn. I think that's where the way he has to look at it.
I think so too, and I think that's a really good way to put that, because now he's looking at his Midnight Hauntings, and they don't look quite as good now. I mean, they're still going to be awesome, but he could have had a Restoration Angel too.
I mean, he still has this intangible virtue into Midnight Haunting play, which I think is probably going to be good enough to take the game. Now, all right.
Also, if Michael ever finds a human, are there any humans to sack to Falconwrath Aristocrat in his deck?
I mean, okay, so I'm
because
actually...
he can use the...
there are...
this Lesnia Charm to take out the Falconwrath
Experiment
Aristocrat.
1 is the only human in the deck.
Okay, so that's not a big play for Michael's deck.
No, and he'd have to have 2 of those before he'd have to... 2 of those before he gets his guys out of virtue range, out of token range, because the tokens are all 2/2s.
Well, I was saying because Eric actually has a Lesnia Charm in his hand too. So
if he ever sacrifices to make it bigger, then that's actually terrible for him.
He can nail it, yeah. So.
Right.
But that's pretty unlikely.
I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to provide a pretty reasonable line for why to chump with the Restoration Angel. If Eric has that 5th land, which I don't remember whether he did or not, but let's assume he does it. Then what he can do is, with 3 Midnight Hauntings and an intangible virtue, he has to be really confident that he has to feel great about this game.
Yes.
How do I lose with it just making two vigilant 2/2 flyers every turn? Okay, the way I lose is if he just burns my face off out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start chump blocking from 14 just to ensure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And that's a line which I can defend that.
It's conservative, but it's reasonable.
It's very conservative, but sure, it's reasonable. If you think your hand's just complete gas, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't see how Michael actually would punch through something like that.
He would have to draw all of his Gore Clan Rampagers.
I think he'd have to draw Running Thundermaw Hellkites, because he has 2 in his deck. So if he can play both of them in a row, I think that would work.
But even then, Midnight Haunting plays around that.
Well, no, it taps all the flyers.
But you can play it after the trigger, right?
Oh gosh, yes
And then
you can.
and still
Yes,
have-
you
still have
absolutely
blocks and
can.
stuff? Yeah.
It's an instant. It's not lingering souls.
Right.
Yeah, no, that does play around that.
And it looks like he's going to fire off the first of what is going to be 2 or 3 Midnight Hauntings.
He has 3 in his hand.
Yeah. And remember, these are all 2/2 vigilant flying
He
spirits.
doesn't have a black-white spirit.
Yeah, that's an incorrect token, but
We'll let it slide.
yeah, we'll let it slide this time.
And the worst part here is that Michael can't. This doesn't trade. You know, he can't keep his aristocrat alive.
That's right.
Well, if he does, you know, he can't trade the Geist and keep aristocrat
Can't
alive.
have it both ways here. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, we're gonna see another
Is this
blood
a Gore
rush.
Clan?
Absolutely.
Yeah. He loves
It's
it.
the only trick the deck has. It pretty much is the only
I
trick.
mean, I guess he's got skull cracks, which is something, but yeah.
Yeah. The deck is low on tricks. It's high on creatures. I mean, that's pretty good. That will trample over for 6.
Yeah?
Dropping Eric to 6. You have to be worried if you're Eric that he's going to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is starting to show some of the reasons. I mean, a couple of skull cracks in a row as well.
Eric's making himself look really smart with that Angel chump block.
He really is. And here we go. Experiment 1. Will Michael fall for it? You know, if he goes for the sacrifice there, and if Eric is astute to leave up Celestia Charm, he can really get him.
More importantly, what I like about it is it plays around another Gorkman Rampager.
Absolutely.
If he goes for that, and then he's, you know, if he gets the Celestia Charm in response, that would just be disgusting.
Yeah, well, not even in response, right? After.
Yeah, just no, it's not in response. Yeah,
Yeah.
after, let it resolve.
But
Okay, it's an 8/5, sure.
That's right. And Eric just has to be cognizant of that. And it looks like he's got 5 mana, so that's a play that he's going to absolutely have available to him. If he wants, this is an interesting spot for Eric because he could eat Experiment 1 if he cared with Garrick and start making Death Touch rolls. But I think these 2/2 wolves are just better, right?
I think so. I agree. Yeah. The thing is that, well, are the 2/2 wolves better? 3/3 wolves
he
better?
did it.
He's
active.
gosh. I'm not sure the 2/2 wolves are bad. The Death Touch wolves might be better, but the problem is by making that flip, you're spending 1 turn not making a wolf, and I think
you just want to
can't
keep
afford
that
that
tempo. Okay.
Yeah.
So now the question is, does Eric? He can wait.
Oh gosh,
right?
Eric completely just destroys it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he can wait. He can do.
He can do whatever he
instant,
wants.
You know?
Yeah. But I mean, there's no reasonable response that Michael could have that could blow him out, right? It's just that thing's getting exiled when he decides it's going to get exiled.
He could play a second Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, but with that on the stack, he could exile it.
Okay.
That's the only use he could have for the creatures, making a different Aristocrat indestructible.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Right, and both number.
So Eric's in a very good position
So
here.
just reference, both these players are currently 7-1. Going into this round,
Wow.
they were respectively, Michael Mindt was in 10th place, Eric Thompson actually all the way in 18th, so it's very likely that that the winner of this game will have yet another match to go in round 10. You see Flint of Boar so a bunch of hasters.
And Michael does what Michael does, bashes with the team.
I don't think it's going to be enough.
I do not think so either, and this is going to turn around very quickly when it does. We see that Michael's already down to 13, but Eric's going to have how much power here? 2, 4,
Well, that is
6, 8, 10,
13.
11, yeah.
Sorry, 6. Sorry, you're at 11.
So he
You're
went
12.
for it here with
12, sorry.
he just went for it.
Yeah.
Celestia Charms just says, yeah, I'm just going to kill that thing.
Oh, wait, so yeah, actually the counter swing is 13. I don't think he can make the counter swing because he has to trade some stuff, but yeah, the Celestia Charm, I mean, that's just awesome.
Is it 13?
Well, he has Eric has 13 power, but he's going to have to make some blocks here because he can't go to 0.
Where's the other 2? Am I missing 2 somewhere?
There's 6 from there's 6 from PC Spirits, 6 from Wolves, and 1 from Avacyn's Pilgrim.
The spirits are all 2/2s, right?
Right. So 6,
2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Just 2 wolves.
Oh,
and the wolves
right,
are 3.
sorry. Yeah, my bad.
So yeah, the wolves get pumped too.
So that is actually lethal then.
Yeah, but he's gonna have to block. Well, no, actually, wait. He can
He's
just take it.
tapped out.
He can just take it all.
Yeah.
Go to 1.
Go to 1, kill you.
Go to 1, untap, kill you.
Yep.
And that's what he did. Went to
Yeah.
an astute count there. Oh, the second virtue. Okay. Just in case I counted wrong, we'll just
And there's
play
a
that.
Hell Rider in hand for Michael Mindt as he can't quite get it done with that aggressive Jund-colored
A
deck.
close match there.
Yeah.
Michael was closer than I had realized.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give props to that. The Angel chump block I think was really a heads-up play by Eric.
It was. I mean, and it did make sense. I think you kind of came around to it as well, where you're like, look, he's got so much power and toughness locked up in his hands that he can dump on the table over the next 3 to 4 turns, like things are going to work out for him if this game goes long.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, but and it's because he had so many token makers that it wasn't, his life total was a more precious commodity than his creatures.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was actually kind of a sweet game.
That was excellent. So Eric Thompson now moves to 8-1. And yeah, he was actually the lowest break